Welcome back to the Art and Skill of Coaching, where I teach you how to coach. So today we're going to be talking about a distinction that I make with clients all the time, especially the high achievers. You know, my clients who are super ambitious, self-aware, they're capable people who are out there working hard, but they still feel frustrated with their lack of results. They might even experience exhaustion, fatigue, overwhelm, because they are doing a lot, and yet they're not moving forward in the way that they expect it. And it's not because they aren't capable, and it's not because they're on the wrong path. It's because they are mistaking movement for momentum. Because movement feels productive, but momentum is actually what creates results. A lot of people don't realize that they're stuck in movement until the fatigue and the defeat and the doubt and the burnout starts to hit and settle in, or until they look back and realize I've been quote unquote working on this for months or years with very little to show for it. And I know this feeling because I've been there personally many times. But for coaches, if we don't understand this distinction between movement and momentum, not just for ourselves, but how it shows up in the coaching space, we might unintentionally help clients feel busy instead of create results and actually move forward. And before we keep diving in, let me actually clearly define this concept of movement versus momentum. I think movement is the expenditure of energy, whether that be mental, emotional, or physical energy, without necessarily moving forward, without actually making progress towards a desired outcome. And so what movement usually looks like, it could be thinking, it could be processing, it could be analyzing, reflecting, preparing, asking questions to ourselves or to other people, gaining insight. And none of these things are bad. They're actually oftentimes necessary on the path of change, but movement alone does not create change. Momentum is what creates results. And momentum, on the other hand, is aligned action that compounds over time. And momentum might sound the same, but it looks very different. Momentum is decision making. It's commitment. It's taking action, especially imperfect action. It's testing theories. It's adjusting. It's pivoting. It's following through. It's failing forward. It's building evidence and gathering data and creating clarity through behavior. Momentum is what creates clarity. Momentum is what increases confidence and creates results. And an image I use to further explain this concept to clients when I actually see it happening in session, because I ran track in high school, fun fact, this is the analogy I use. Movement is like running on the track. It's running lap after lap after lap. You're exerting effort, you're sweating, you're tired, but after 3 miles, you're standing in the exact same spot that you started. And momentum is running, but it's like running a trail. You might cover the same distance, those same 3 miles, but you end up somewhere completely different at the end. And that experience is completely different. Maybe you had different views, different terrain, more elevation. It was a totally different experience. Both 3 miles running on the track versus the trail run require effort and cover quote unquote the same distance, but only one run is going to actually take you somewhere. And this is where coaching skill really matters, because when coaches don't know how to get people past movement and into momentum, clients are going to experience only temporary emotional relief. They might have some insight, but no actual plan on how to embody or make that insight tangible to create results. They might feel a sense of validation or temporary motivation or feel good or like the coach, but they don't necessarily change their behavior and therefore their results. And over time, that continued effort without result is going to actually lead to discouragement and a sense of defeat. And from a psychological perspective, my therapist is coming out a little bit. This actually maps really well, because insight alone does not change behavior. It is an important step in change, but it's not what's actually going to change behavior. And research consistently shows that change actually requires 2 things. So internally, it requires that cognitive clarity, that awareness, and that emotional and values relevance, like why does this matter? But then you actually have to take that insight and apply it through the second part, which is behavioral commitment. What will I do with this information? How am I going to follow through? What's that plan? What are those resources? And I hope what you can see here is that movement primarily lives in cognition and emotion, and momentum is integration of that emotion into behavior. And until behavior changes, aka aligned action that's taken with that awareness, outcomes don't happen. So here's the framework I want you to use that actually just follows that psychological framework we just talked about. And let's keep it simple and call it the framework, movement to momentum. So you want to start at the thought level, like we were just talking about. Where are they now? Where do they want to go? What got them here and what's currently not working anymore. And then once you clearly define that bridge, where they are versus where they want to be, ask them things like, why does that matter? What's at stake here? What needs to happen? What would be different if you actually created some momentum towards that desired result? That is real motivation. Sometimes this could be confronting and uncomfortable to analyze where we are in relation to our goal and maybe how we've contributed or lack thereof effort towards the goal. But this is sustainable because that discomfort is motivating. But unfortunately, this is where a lot of coaches stop. They build awareness and they build hope, but then momentum dies because they never take it a step further. So here's a little tip for you. When you start to hear language around commitment and desires for change and a sense of urgency or possibility or readiness or ideas, this is your cue as a coach. It is time to move into action planning. The client is perfectly primed at this moment. So let me give you a couple questions that will actually help you get out of movement and into momentum. So here's where you ask questions like, what can we commit to today? Why is this worth the effort right now? Or what is one action you can take in the next 24 hours? What strengths or resources do you have access to already that we can leverage? Or what time frame would feel both supportive but also stretch you? What's the smallest step to just get started? How can we just start today? Like, these questions take that awareness and embody, aka make it tangible, through action. That's the difference. So let me give you an example to really show you what coaching that gets a client into momentum sounds like. And by the way, I know I'm talking about how to do this with clients, but you should also be doing this with yourself. Like I shared before, I've gotten caught and exhausted in movement. I've spent hours, weeks, months, low-key years with some of my goals in movement, just thinking and planning and hoping and dreaming and journaling and gathering information and doing my research and having conversations and quote unquote trying. I can go on, but as you can tell, it was exhausting. It just left me drained and doubtful because I never got any results. But it wasn't because I was failing. It was because I never actually got into momentum. I stayed in movement and never took any aligned action. So let me show you a difference with a client case example. So let's say a client comes in wanting to leave their job because they're unhappy in it. Movement-based coaching would be exploring how they feel or what about their current job makes them unhappy and really talking about the past and understanding why they're stuck, maybe processing some fears or clarifying values, visualizing the future. This is all good stuff. But if you spend too much time here and weeks pass, the client's going to feel understood, they're going to feel validated, but they're still going to be in the same damn job, right? So let's take the same as that client and we still explore all of those things, what they want, why it matters, and what's holding them back, but then we move forward. So momentum-based coaching takes it a step further, whether that's in the same session or a few sessions later, and asks questions like, what role do you actually want next? What's one step you could take towards that role? Or who could you reach out to this week? What skills do you already have? What's the deadline we're working with? What can you do before our next session to be one step closer to that goal? Now awareness is becoming behavior, and behavior is what creates results. And this kind of coaching, having movement and momentum, it's going to help the client build clarity and increase their confidence. It's going to create tangible progress. It's going to reduce burnout. It's going to strengthen their self-trust and obviously produce client outcomes. And for the coach, it's going to just build your skill, your authority, your client retention, and results you can stand behind because you know that you're being effective, efficient, and valuable as a coach. And this is exactly the type of psychologically grounded, science-backed coaching I teach inside of the Art and Skill of Coaching. We train coaches on how to build awareness and create momentum. We train coaches so that they know when to go deep and when to move forward with structured frameworks that create change. And enrollment for our spring class is opening soon. So if you want to become a professional top-tier coach who knows exactly what to do with all of your clients, you want to join the waitlist right now. The waitlist actually gets first access to enrollment dates, and they get to claim their seats early, and space is limited. So you'll find the link in the show notes. Definitely hop in there. And as always, thank you for tuning in. If this episode helped you, please leave us a review, hit those 5 stars, leave us a comment, and definitely make sure you subscribe so that you never miss another training to help you master the art and skill of coaching.